how could you possibly work with a coach or mentor and not have a tangible thing to have at the end of that? So it was always my goal to say, this is about strategy and setting it up, doing the work, using all of these templates and all of these systems and making it happen, because that's the only way it's going to work for you. You've got to have all the pieces in place if you expect this to be something that you can utilize to really grow your business. Otherwise, you'll be in. Yeah.
When you decide to go out on your own, I mean, I wonder what it's like, only because when I started my first business, I've only had one other job when I graduated university until I realized that I was not meant to be an employee.
Yeah.
And went out. But you've had multiple jobs. You've spent most of your time actually being an employee before you went out on your own. What was the first day like compared to, or I guess even the first few months like compared to what you thought it would be? Because everyone thinks, I'm going to go leave my job, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. Boom, things are going to roll. And then all of a sudden they leave and they're like, oh man, I kind of miss that job a little bit. I kind of miss that, like you're on your own. So I'm just wondering what that was like for you, the beginning steps of having been in the workplace most of your time and then going out on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of interesting because a lot of entrepreneurs talk about the fact that maybe they were like terrible employees or they got fired from every job. They just weren't willing to take direction from other people. They knew they needed to be on their own. I was kind of the opposite. I was like the star employee at every job I've ever had. I was, I definitely would have been able to climb the corporate ranks, so to speak, but I've never been a fan of corporate structures. I'm creative. I speak my mind. I'm not trying to have somebody control every aspect of what I'm doing. And it was kind of hard because I did have that, I got raises consistently. I was definitely continuing to rise. But I think the biggest thing for me was simply that internally I felt like it was not right. I found myself like crying one day for no reason. And my husband's like, what are you crying about? I'm like, I don't have a business yet. I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I just couldn't really stop that voice inside of me anymore. I just knew I had to do it. So I had been working with that company for a while as their marketing director. I was very well liked and respected there. And I made the decision that regardless, I was going to start this business, but I transitioned my current employer to a client. So I ended up doing the same exact things that I was doing for them, but instead of being an employee, they were now my client. So that was actually a huge benefit for me because my salary was the exact same. I still had my salary, but obviously, differences in how that actually is brought in and distributed tax-wise, but it gave me a really great opportunity to not have to stress so much because I didn't take a leap with nothing. I had a new daughter. I was not trying to completely just rock my world and put my family in a bad position. So again, I probably would have done it regardless. I would have made sure that I had other clients signed on before I did that, just as that safety net. But it was a really great opportunity for me to grow quickly because I had all the financial support that I needed. It's what I had currently been living off of. And I already had almost all the programs I needed. I already had all the equipment. It's what I'd been doing for a long time. So there's virtually no capital that I had to invest to get started. But I will say it is definitely a mindset shift in a lot of ways. Not that I hadn't been doing the exact same things, but you really realize very quickly that you can't do it alone and that you've got to get people on board right away. So I had 3 assistants at my previous job. So I had that help before, and then I go from having that help to doing virtually the same thing, but not having any help. So in terms of manpower, that was a big issue. So I just went ahead and hired somebody pretty quickly to help out with all of those things. I started really just with organic marketing, in all honesty. I did a lot of Facebook group engagement. I would just really respond to other people and help them out and give them insights. And I'd occasionally post things, but it was really more about just engaging with others and starting to build a name for myself in those existing communities. And it worked out really well. I was able to get clients quickly without doing too much. I didn't spend any money to get those clients. It was really more of just trying to be that person that someone knows is credible because they've already given you information for free. And I already had sales experience at that time. So closing clients was not really my issue. It was a lot about the processes and the systems and just getting a plan together for how I wanted to grow. And probably about, I'd say maybe 5 months in or so, we got some great PR and had, kind of our first like explosive month. And then from there, it really continued to grow. I mean, most months in my business have been the best month yet. So we've had a handful that were the same, not a ton that were down from the previous month, but the trajectory has definitely continued to grow almost every month. And that's been really awesome because I continue to reinvest that back in my business. I'm not a big spender like on personal stuff. I've just always been pretty frugal. So I have no problem buying anything for my business or investing in my business or in coaching for my business, but I save a lot. So I never had a financial issue in terms of being able to actually use the tools that were going to help me grow. I ended up hiring my first coach, I guess about a year after I officially started. So I'd probably only been full-time for like 6 months at that point. And that was a really big step for me. I honestly was kind of skeptical of coaching for a while, just seeing all of the unqualified coaches out there, I guess you could say. Like, I'm sorry,
it's a
but
polite way to put it. I like
it is a 20-year-old life coach. I have a hard time swallowing that because there is a certain level of experience somebody needs to have in order to really help others. And it's not that I feel like you have to go through the exact same things as everyone, but there's a lot of maturity that happens after that point that I feel is important. So I wasn't really looking for a coach. It just kind of happened. He's a great guy. Went ahead and joined his program. That was awesome. Then I ended up hiring another coach simultaneously, like 6 months later. And that was specifically for agency growth. So at that time, agency work is what I'd focused on for the most part. I actually created my course as the very first thing I did. I'm kind of glad I did that at this point because it took a lot of time and effort, and I didn't have that time after I started the agency. So I was glad to go ahead and have that resource and that asset that I could use. But the agency model was something that I thought I really, really wanted to go full force with. And so I hired someone to really help me with the processes and the systems and different sales strategies and things like that. That was also really great. But ironically, that coach encouraged me to start my group program. So I had no intention of doing that at the time, but I had just gotten my 2 Comma Club award. I'd been on the Social Media Marketing Podcast, which is like #2 podcast in marketing in the world. I had a couple of other like opportunities that came up. And so I was getting a lot of outreach from other people in the marketing space, also local business owners, but a lot of people that were not who I was going to work with as an agency. And so he just felt like it was a good time for me to just go ahead and try and maximize all of this opportunity that was coming my way and start a program. It was the best decision ever. I mean, that really is like the power of coaching, because if I had learned nothing else besides getting that one push, I mean, it would have been worth it 100 times over. I've made so much as a result of that one decision that is really hard for me to feel like would have happened without someone there to encourage me, because it was not my intention in any way. So now we do a lot of agency work, but I also do a lot of mentorship. That is local businesses and local agencies, local marketers. So we've got people that focus on, Facebook advertising. We've got people that focus on Google ads that maybe they want to expand their service offerings. We have people that focus a lot on social media management. They want to get better at that, but also learn the ad side. I've got video production people in the program. So kind of diverse group on the marketing side. And then really every type of local business owner you can think of. We've got retailers, service businesses. I've actually had some like online coaches join the program, some like digital products, not necessarily who I market to, but they felt confident that I could help them, and I can. So it's definitely fun for me because I get a lot of variety. I get to help people in a lot of different ways with different strategies. And so ultimately it's just a lot of helping them understand the fundamentals, most importantly, first, because I feel like that's really missing, not only in the local business space, that's kind of expected, but really on the marketer side. I mean, there is so much that people don't know before they get into this marketing field. And then they wonder why they're having a hard time getting results for their clients or retaining clients or growing their own business. And it's really a fundamental lack of understanding of marketing in general and psychology of buying and the sales process that people are naturally going to go through. So once we kind of educate them on all of those things, it's very much technical implementation. We do a lot of work on the screen together. And I feel like that's one of my biggest priorities, because I know from almost everyone we've ever spoken with who's joined some other type of program, they felt like they had nothing to show for it in the end. And I hate to hear that from people, because I'm like, how could you possibly work with a coach or mentor and not have a tangible thing to have at the end of that? So it was always my goal to say, this is not about talking. This is not about theory. This is about strategy and setting it up, doing the work, using all of these templates and all of these systems and making it happen, because that's the only way it's going to work for you. You've got to have all the pieces in place if you expect this to be something that you can utilize to really grow your business. Otherwise, you'll be in the exact same position that you were in previously. So it's definitely evolved a lot over the last couple of years, but I'm very much excited about that side of my business. It's a much different dynamic, lots of variety, like I said, and I can just, help a greater number of people in that type of format, but still really enjoy agency work, a little bit more selective, about who we work with at this point. But that's something I'll never stop doing. I have got to be able to consistently work my skills, practice, try new things. I'm not going to be one of those people who is teaching something that they stopped doing themselves. So always going to be a big priority, just might look a little bit different in the future. Who knows?